YouTube. This is going to be a video on 5 ways to spice up your uniform. And by spice up, I mean to make it just a little bit out of the ordinary, but not so much that you're total fart. As in the Texan who wore the leopard skin pants. Now that was out of the ordinary and authentic, but the common soldier in either army would have had little variances, okay? Like, some soldiers might have been from a little wealthier family, some might have been from a little poorer family. I find that most reenactors portray the poor side a little too much. I mean, yes, there were relatively wealthy merchants and merchant sons that were relatively well off. You know, they could afford to have stuff sent from home, stuff like that. Number 1, use some different buttons on your shirts, okay? All too often I see shell buttons, bone buttons, tin buttons, or even wood buttons. I believe I've seen that once on an actual undershirt. Now, in 1858, a steamboat called the Arabia sunk on the Missouri River, heading for out west for the pioneers. You know, it was basically a supply boat. And they found barrels upon barrels upon barrels of China calico buttons. I believe in the range of the millions. Yep, that's right, the 7 digits. Millions upon millions of buttons, most of which were not bone, were not tin, were not shell. They were made of china, or basically kind of a glassy clay, as far as I know. And of these, a good proportion of those were of the printed or calico variety. That means that they had a pattern transferred onto the button. All too often, as I said, I see the poorer variety of reenactor, or I mean the reenactor that portrays the poorer person. Well, wars are not fought by poor people alone. There were wealthy merchants, owners of businesses, everything. From all walks of life, wealthy, poor, middle class, everything. So if you can, find some antique buttons at an antique store. Just keep an eye out for the calico variety, and I will put a picture of the variety I'm talking about right now. Okay. Next on my little cheat sheet is the lack of issue shirts. And by issue shirts, I don't mean the white cotton muslin. No. Those are not issue. Those were our dress shirts sent from home. Issue shirts, I mean scratchy wool, either one button up here for the normal variety, or kind of a bluish gray wool flannel for the contractor variety with a pocket up here. Okay, if I go off on a rant about this, forgive me, but all too often I hear issue shirts being called civilian shirts. The white cotton muslin that most of the newbies wear is not an issue shirt. Actually, there is a portrait of a guy or a photograph of a guy wearing an issue shirt with his collar turned inside like this, shirt wide open, arms crossed like this, and with a look on his face like, go away, I'm busy kind of deal. I believe he was in artillery, and I will post a picture of that photo right now. Now, the next order of business is the lack of cravats. Now, I'm not saying that every soldier should wear one, okay? Not every soldier did. On fatigue duty, they would take them off, they'd stuff them in their pocket, okay? Or they just didn't have one. But if you look at some of the photos in the field, you'll find that maybe 10% of them wore a cravat. Now, I'm seeing more like 1% wearing cravats in the reenacting world. Excuse me. Now, that may not be a big difference, but I think the cravat, excuse me again, I believe that the cravat adds a little bit of spice to your impression. Again, it was the Victorian times. It was top hats, or in this case hardy hats, and cravats, frock coats. You know, it was Victorian. And there are paintings, okay, there are paintings of people wearing cravats in normal everyday work. One of these paintings is of two hog farmers kind of tying a hog, by its leg. They're both wearing cravats, both wearing top hats, both wearing vests. I mean, if I can find that photo, I'll definitely put a link in the description to where it is, but as of right now, I have no idea where in Carmen Sandiego it is. Now, fourth is when people use original items. I like it because original items are normally a lot sturdier depending on what the item is, okay? Normally a lot sturdier, a lot more, it's about authentic as you can get actually. And if you use them respectfully and as they were meant to be used, you won't have a problem. Like, I bought a pair of Civil War ember tongs at a garage, no, it was a flea market kind of deal. And what ember tongs are, they're long tongs, okay? They squeeze in your hand, pick up an ember out of the fire with, and light your pipe with it, okay? That's not something that they would have carried, but if you're doing like a living history, a display, maybe something in a fort, then by all means use something like that. I mean, come on, it's original. If it's in sturdy condition, if you use it respectfully, you won't have a problem as far as I'm concerned. Now, number 3, 4, 5. I gotta learn how to count one of these days. Is another related topic to one of my other videos called tobacco use. Now, I smoke a pipe, and for all you cigarette smokers out there, it's not that hard to buy some cigarette tobacco or break them open, before the event, pour the tobacco in a little pouch, buy a El Cheapo clay pipe, stuff it with the cigarette tobacco, and smoke it that way. I don't care if you inhale or not, most people won't even know. So, all you cigarette smokers, if you want to be a little more authentic, especially in front of the public, before the event, just break them open and smoke the cigarette tobacco in a pipe, or buy like top cigarette tobacco or something like that. Now, all you dip users, you got the dip in the lip. There's actually a more authentic way to do that. Yes, Copenhagen snuff did originate in 1822, but it was not moist snuff, okay? It was dry snuff, originally intended, or that type of snuff was originally intended to be put a little bit on the back of your hand and sniff it, okay? Now, in the South, a lot of people took to making what's called a wooden swab. Basically, you take a stick, you chew on it until the end is all soft and kind of frayed a little bit. You take your snuff box, with the dry snuff, mind you, and you dip it in, and you kind of stick in your mouth and suck on it, or kind of brush your teeth with it, whatever. Okay. I am actually not a fan of chewing tobacco, but if you do, please at least attempt to make it a period correct way of using it. And I imagine it would work for moist snuff too, like the Copenhagen snuff, Grizzly snuff. I imagine it would work for that too. Just take a stick, chew on it, dip it in, or find, like, again with the original stuff. I have an original snuff box, okay, that one of these days I'm going to get myself some nasal snuff and use that, every once in a while. But I have an original snuff box. You can put the snuff in, moist snuff, dry snuff, whatever. Put your stick in and kind of chew on the stick. And it's a little bit healthier too on that note, because when most dentists see a man who dips snuff and a man who chews loose leaf chewing tobacco, they always go with the loose leaf chewing tobacco in preference, because you're constantly moving it around, you're chewing on it. With dip, it just stays there. With the loose leaf chewing tobacco, it actually moves around, so it doesn't have enough time to cause the ulcers and cancer and stuff like that. Well, this has been the 5 ways to spice up your impression. This has been the Hardy Hat channel, and I'll see you down the road, pard.